Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. Here we are. We're back again for another national championship show. I guess we could say that for 355 more days, right?
Yeah, I think your math checks out there. I had to make sure you were right.
I will take it, man. As much as we can say we're the national champs, we'll keep it up. Man, I'm still happy. I'm still lit. No matter what any Michigan fans can say on social media, we're the national champs. We got the hardware. But let's get to this intro to get things spiced up, so let's go.
No great accomplishments are ever achieved without going through adversity.
To present to you the 2025 College Football National Champion, Coach Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ohio against the world.
Oh, come, let's sing Ohio and song to alma mater.
He goes back down.
While our hearts rebounding through, enjoy which death alone.
Playing this play, you move Jeremiah Smith and you come back to him. Notre Dame completely loses him, but it happened.
Tennessee and Oregon. And they play that tonight. Judkins breaks free. Quinshon Judkins into sprint.
The
and they'll finally run him down at the
time and change will surely show how firm thy friendship. Ohio.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
My audio is going in and out, brother. So let's first talk about this. We were at the national championship celebration. It was amazing. Had a great time. Got to see Day get on that podium. Got to be on the podium myself when the game, or when it first started. Not the game, but the celebration first started. Awesome. Got a picture with the trophy. It was a great time. Great time to celebrate. Had a hell of a show. I mean, Day was just a different man, and he's been out on that tour being a different man, more relaxed. It's tough, man. You win a national title, and there's just more things to do, right? You got to go on tour with the trophy. Like, you just keep going. He's in LA. He's in New York. He's recruiting in Georgia. All over the place, man. It's just nonstop. I can't imagine being a college coach, but with so much more joy now that you got that trophy. You got that hardware. So life is good for Ryan Day. Life is good for Buckeye fans everywhere. But time moves on. Are we still celebrating? Or is it time to move on to the next season?
No, we as fans are still celebrating. Coaching staff had to get back to work, next day. So we can still bask.
We can still bask in the glory. All of this glory. Man, it's been good. It is good. I can't stop saying it. It's so good. So good.
We got to get you off.
I'm excited.
We'll get you some new adjectives. Yes.
So what do we want to get into in the offseason? All right. We had the celebration. Everything's over. We changed the name of Lane Avenue. Now it's Championship Way. No longer Undisputed. Some people were a little upset that the Undisputed got taken down because, that's like a slap in the face to 2014. But with this playoff I mean, you had to do something special. Championship way. It's awesome. We are the national title team for the foreseeable future. But we got to move on to 2025, and now is the time. What was absent from that national championship celebration? None other than Jim Knowles. Man, was that a gut punch to you? What do you feel?
Yeah, I was really surprised by it, to be honest with you. Maybe there had been some smoke on social media, other places I wasn't able to see, but to see a coach kind of take I don't want to piss off Penn State fans too much, but a lateral move bordering on demotion, more or less. And yeah, you could talk about money. Maybe there are 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 there. It wasn't a significant money move. And you and I have talked quite a bit about this. When you start really digging into it, there had to be some other factor at play other than what your contract is and how much money you're making. I think you would have been the highest coordinator, whether you stayed at Ohio State or you went to Penn State. And sometimes the pull of going home just, overpowers anything else. But what was your initial reaction?
I was sour. I was, man, all of this. We just get up to the press box. All the reporters are sitting there. You don't get real good reception on the field when there's 30,000 people in the stadium. So get up there, you see the initial reports. You're like, yeah, maybe it's just hearsay. Maybe one person tweeted it out, and then it started coming in. It started getting hot on Twitter. It started trending on Twitter. And we're like, oh, this is real. We just lost the number one defensive coordinator from the number one defensive team last year. Man, gut punch. You just spoiled my mood. We were all excited, having a good time, and then this happens. But then you get some time to digest it. You take it back to reality. Like you said, the guy's from Philadelphia originally, so probably born and raised a Penn State fan. He's a Nittany Lion for life. So there's that pool. It's drawing them in. Maybe had some riffs with the coaching staff. I know Ryan Day got after him after the Oregon game, wanted to change things up. I know he wanted to run that 3-3-5, which wouldn't have worked in the Big Ten. It'd be interesting to see if he does that at Penn State, because that would be awesome. We'll just run all over him like we did last year, only worse with the 3-3-5. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets his way with that, because I think there was a little bit of disconnect with him and Larry Johnson. But Coach Johnson, he's been there so long. He had that deep connection with the coaching staff at Ohio State. He was there for the national title in Urban Meyer's era, and now there for another national title with Ryan Day. So, that goes back quite a ways, right? Since the beginning of Ryan Day's tenure at Ohio State when he was offensive coordinator. So, if you know someone good, you tend to side with them a little bit more. And I think it was just kind of weird meshing that all together. So that, along with going back home, made him decide it was time to go. And it sounds like Ohio State was like, all right, lock the doors. Dude's out of the building. We don't want him there.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And again, I know there's lots of reports on social media this way or that, but you look in corporate America, if you go tell your boss you're giving your 2 weeks notice and you're going to a competitor, guess what? They shut off your access instantaneously. You're done. There is no 2 weeks of working or streamlining or anything like that. You're done. And I have no problem with this similar philosophy of, you celebrated with your team. You celebrated Monday, January 20th. You got to enjoy that moment. Would we have liked them there? Yes, I think that would have been nice. But the second we know you're signing on a dotted line against a conference competitor, unfortunately, yes, you kind of forfeit that right. I mean, and you could, if you wanted to be really smart about it, you could go to Penn State and others and say, listen, we're not breaking this news for a couple of days. Let me go have the parade. Let me celebrate. We're going to keep this under wraps. I don't need to talk about it. The fact that it got leaked that day, that's also a little suspicious. Did Penn State do that? Did somebody else do that? Who knows? But it's one of these things. Listen, Coach Knowles wanted to go somewhere else. He wanted to go back to Penn State, maybe call it his hometown team. Certainly was compensated extremely well. It wasn't a pay decrease by any means. But now you're on the rival. So don't let the door hit you on the way out.
For me, the biggest problem with this was it seems like Knowles is a guy who is content with being a defensive coordinator, no aspirations to be a head coach. And that is where it really hurts because you want those long-term coordinators to stick around. That's nice. I mean, they got it in Iowa. They got that defensive coordinator, and Clemson had it before with a long-term defensive coordinator. It's just nice to have those people stick around. One less thing to worry about. It's hard to have one of your defensive or offensive coordinators leaving every 2 to 3 years and trying to replace that because eventually you make a bad hire. It's just bound to happen. It's mathematics. Statistically, eventually, it's going to be a bad hire. You're not going to hit a home run hire every single time unless you're Nick Saban.
But I think if I'm Jim Knowles, I look at Coach Day and I say, you hired me to win a national title. I did what you hired me to do. Now I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go to a place I want to go. Or again, I can't speak to the speculation around any rifts with the coaching staff or anything like that. But maybe he comes in and he says, listen, I like to run my entire defensive staff. I like to tell my D-line coach who's going to rotate. I like to tell my linebackers coach where they're going to be. And if there were maybe stronger heads in that room that said, hey, we're going to decide, when we rotate. We're going to decide what players play. You just call the plays. You're the D coordinator. There could have been that creative difference there. And he looks at Penn State and says, hey, I'm going to tell everybody underneath me what they're going to do. And James Franklin said, yeah, we'll let you do that. So a lot of factors at play overall. I don't mind. At the end of the day, you just won a national title. A coordinator leaving a national championship team is extremely common. So to sit around and say, oh, woe is us, what are we going to do? We're going to go hire one of the best defensive coordinators we want because they want to come here, and we're just going to keep the machine rolling.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So what do we got? All right, we got this question. All right, from the locker room, Dave Girding. So what's next for us at D coordinator? I think that's a loaded question right now. First, you had Jim Leonard. He's staying in Denver. He's not leaving that. Why would you leave that? I wouldn't, right? If you're a coordinator in the NFL, you don't leave. No. And I mean, all his allegiances were to the Badgers, right? So that's not going to be the draw, right? It's not like tradition. I want to go back home. So I count him out already. If you want to go with Jeff Hafley at Green Bay, I don't think Hafley liked dealing. In fact, he said he didn't like dealing with the recruiting, the NIL. So I don't think that he is one that comes back to the college football ranks anytime soon. Maybe in the future. He's been at Ohio State, so that might be a draw because it is Ohio State. It's easier to recruit than it is in Boston College, but still don't see him coming back. So where does that leave you next? All right, we have Tim Walton on staff, which is talked about a little bit, that Tim Walton and Matt Guerrieri could be kind of co-defensive coordinators. Tim Walton was defensive coordinator at Miami, at Memphis. So he has that experience. I think he was some other places. I'm trying to look back. I think that was it. Every time he was a defensive coordinator there, I believe it was 1 year. Defensive coordinator at St. Louis Rams for a year. Miami and Memphis, and that's it. Oh, wait, let's see.
It's a nice blend.
Ex-Coast at Detroit. So he's had some experience calling plays. And if you add Matt Guerrieri, he was also defensive coordinator, calling plays, co-defensive coordinator at Duke in 2018 through 2021, and at Indiana in 2023. So obviously that Indiana in 2023 was a decent defense. I mean, they stuffed Ohio State, stopped that offense first game of the season.
So did everybody.
But it wasn't the defense. It wasn't the defense that it was this year, right? So that I think that's probably if they don't hit their big ones, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, and there's been a couple of names floated around too. You got Joe Cullen, the defensive line coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, you're about 10 days away from even interviewing him, given the Super Bowl's a week from Sunday. Randy Bates out of Pitt. You know, you talk about John Haycock as well from Iowa State. And we've even seen Phil Parker, who's the D coordinator at Iowa, being floated around too. So I think if you're Coach Day, we do think that if we see this process drag out, let's say a week from today, you could see Joe Cullen as maybe the primary candidate because he's drawing it out because he wants to interview him. However, if you see it wrap up rather quickly, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Guerreri or Walton or somebody internal and just kind of keep that momentum going. I think a co-defensive coordinator system works a lot better than co-offensive coordinators, as long as you're instilling a similar defensive style. So if they're kind of keeping bits and parts from Knowles' defense, kind of bringing it into a forefront, adding your own flavor. But I think timing is going to be really critical here. If we see this drag out more, you're probably going to see a lot more NFL names. But as you see with the NFL landscape, you're still getting coaches hired at the NFL level. You know, Dallas just recently hired theirs. You know, Houston's looking for coordinators. You got all these teams still looking for coordinators. So if you want that blended college NFL guy, you may have to move a little faster.
I think it's Joe Cullen is the guy that, or Cullen is the guy that they want to at least interview before they make any decisions. So I think we're going to hold off until after the Super Bowl before we find out. And it's probably going to be a couple days after that as well.
It's dangerous though.
Scheduled. Yeah.
Because you have to have a really strong belief that he wants this, because again, you could have 3 to 4 defensive coordinator jobs in the NFL open up. And if Kansas City goes out and three-peats a week from Sunday, you're probably going to have a lot of people asking for him because Spagnuolo is the D coordinator with the Chiefs. He's not going anywhere. So, you know, that's a really dangerous game to play. If you start seeing some of these other people like, no, listen, I've already done a recruiting cycle. I'm good. I'm going to stay where I'm at for another year. You might be scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point.
Yeah. What do you think about Phil Parker coming?
I don't see it. I really don't. You know, again, I think the Knowles story taught us extremely well. Sometimes if you're just really comfortable at a place you're at, you don't need an extra couple $100,000, right? These coordinators are making really good money, and you could enjoy where you're at. And we haven't seen a lot of smoke around Parker with Iowa in previous years, especially when his side of the ball was literally carrying the team, and probably still will this year. So you think a guy like that could be more in a position of power and say, listen, get an offensive place or I'm the hell out of here. You're not seeing any of that smoke anywhere. So I say all that to say probably a really low probability there, although I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't see him coming. I think you're right. He's going to be comfortable there. Why leave? He's been there how many years? Is it 17 years? Something ridiculous like that. So he says he's going to retire when Kirk Ferentz retires, and I believe that. I think that's just kind of wishful thinking.
Yeah.
But we do have that card in our back pocket. We can promote from within, hire a defensive line coach that would fill in for Coach Johnson when he's ready to retire, because that is right around the corner. At some point, it's going to happen. You know, when you're 70 years old, you're pushing retirement, right?
You're just not hopping on planes like you have to at the collegiate level. I mean, it just gets harder and harder. So it's inevitable at some point, and you're going to have to replace that very important position as well.
If all of you all were with us last time, I didn't do any commercials, so I got to make up for Danos today. I got to play them at least twice. I mean, you just got to do what you got to do. So let's hit you up with some Danos seasoning. We'll be right back with some roster and some Michigan talk. NCAA violations coming up. Oh, let's get it.
Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe,
hey.
We all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better. Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Steve must have ran out to get some Dano's, man. No, don't worry about it. You just finish that burrito. We'll get going with you. But
it was good. It was good, man. I had to eat some. All right, let's get into it. What's left? You want to get right into that depth chart?
always, man. You know I love talking depth charts.
So we'll start off with what everyone knows. When you add the two best players from either side of the ball, or each side of the ball, I should say, you're starting off with one hell of a base. We have the GOAT at wide receiver. You want to call him the GOAT yet? Can we call him that? Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, absolutely.
The freshman GOAT. I mean, the best offensive player returning. And then on the other side of the ball, you flip that around and you got Caleb Downs, the best defensive player returning. So that's a damn good start. Then you got your man, Julian Saying, 6'1", can throw the ball from any angle, former number 1 recruit in the 2024 cycle. Hey, man. And people are trying to steal Ohio State wide receiver recruits. Come on, man. You got Brian Hartline. You got Julian Saying throwing to Brian Hartline's recruits. They ain't leaving. Chris Henry Jr. ain't going nowhere. He's coming where he knows he's going to get ready for the NFL.
Absolutely. And say all you want about anything, Ohio State is wide receiver you. Just look at the first round talent that they pumped into the NFL draft. And you're always going to have a prolific offense. You're going to have a good quarterback at Ohio State. You're going to be playing playoff games. You're going to be the most watched playoff game in every round. We have stats to back that up as well, too. So this concept of you're going to come in and poach our wide receivers, I think we close the door on that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Henry Jr. did post. There was some Michigan outlets that were trying to say, oh, we're saving up money, going to get Chris Henry Jr. And he just reposted a picture of Brian Hartline smoking that cigar after the national championship, man. He ain't going nowhere. He knows where the money's to be made. Doesn't matter how much you're saving up in a collective.
I mean, again,
it'll be down to another.
Any wide receiver that's going
Go ahead.
somewhere else because of NIL money, I don't want you, because the receivers coming here are saying, I'm going to be a first round pick. Just look through the list of Wilson, Olave, Smith and Jigba, Abuka. I mean, you're just pumping out first round wide receivers year after year after year who are talented in the NFL as well, and they're making their money. So, okay,
Did you skip Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah, he didn't have a strong rookie. Nobody can tell that I have on pretty much every one of my fantasy football teams. I'm a little bitter, but I had Terry McLaurin, right? And helped his team get to the NFC Championship game. So that's the thing with these wide receivers is you look at this recommitment from that wide receiver room, and I can't speak to the money, what was being offered at Ohio State or somewhere else, but it was very clear, listen, I'm going to stick here because I can be a first-round talent. I'll go make my money in the NFL.
Damn right, brother. Damn right. Wide receiver, you. Let's go to the running backs. James Peoples, I think he's pretty much got that locked up, but man, they brought in that transfer from West Virginia, CJ Donaldson, 6'2", 238 pounds, 4.9 yards per carry at West Virginia. Beast. Yeah. So we got that 1-2 punch now, right?
Absolutely. And Bo and
that is,
Bo knows, man.
That doesn't even mention the freshman coming in. Come on, man.
I just want to talk about Bo. I know we got Turbo Rogers and Isaiah West. I understand we got the freshman coming in, but you got Bo Jackson's son, man. Bill Angela St. Joe. You got to love that. Cleveland boy.
All right. There's some more people talking about coordinator experience, so maybe we'll jump back. Don't know. Let's go. Coordinator experience. Both have to know the terminology. Continuity matters. I'll give you that.
Yeah, players matter
back
too.
To the depth chart
there too about you want to make sure you don't lose players. Something that's really important to realize is portals are all closed. Everything's done. You may. I don't want to speak out of turn. Maybe you know this one about after spring games. Is there any portals that are available? But short of that, you're in a good place. And if you can get a coordinator in there and you get that commit for the next few months, hopefully you don't lose anybody in that on the defensive side of the ball.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, squirrel. I asked you a direct question, buddy. I was gonna yell squirrel at you. No, is there another transfer portal open in the spring after spring games? Or is there
Oh
no
yeah,
more?
for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another spring portal open. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
continuity
happens
is
there.
important.
There's going to be some people leave after that, obviously, and maybe some coming in.
I was just going off the commenter asking about you want to make sure you have that continuity so you're not losing players. You've already gone through the first wave of the transfer portal that closed last Saturday. But to the commenter's point, you do have this other transfer portal window. So if you do bring somebody in from the outside, you want to make sure they have that continuity, they have that buy-in, and that you're not losing any good defensive players in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Back to the roster, tight ends. So we brought in Max Clare, just an absolute stud from Purdue. Anyone that was good at Purdue is gone. And then we still have Will Kamarnik, Kazmarek, sorry. Butchered his last name, and Jelani Thurman too. So we still have some studs coming back there. It's going to be a show at tight end too. And Kazmarek was playing well towards the end of last year too, blocking real well. He was one of the guys that was chipping, helping that offensive line kind of gel a little bit better against some of the better defensive lines there are in college football. You know, with Tennessee, Texas, he was definitely instrumental in helping that team for sure.
Yeah,
obviously,
go back to our show
G. Scott, that doesn't help.
Yeah, but go back to the show after the Oregon game. We called it out personally. Bennett Christian, two crucial blocks on both Travion Henderson touchdown runs. And if you go back and isolate him, his block was literally the difference of springing those two runs. So having that kind of blocking tight end, I can't speak to his pass catching abilities, but you kind of have Max Clare with the deep threat, the vertical possession tight end, but you got some great blocking tight ends too. I really want to see Jelani Thurman. His hands seem to be extremely questionable. The guy is built like an Adonis. I mean, a freakish athlete, but I would say in the few times we did see him, looked like he had very hard hands. So if he can really become a pass catching tight end along with the blocking, he could really blossom.
Yeah, he had a couple big drops, but I have a feeling that was just young jitters, and he's going to get it together. So it'll be interesting to see him next year too.
Yeah, could be.
So offensive line.
Yeah.
This was a question to start the year last year, but we built some depth here and made it all the way through the grueling college football playoffs, 14 and 2, so 16 total games. These guys they had to gel 7 different times. I think there were changes on the offensive line, a ridiculous amount. Got it together. Justin Fry deserves all the props in the world. He's actually interviewing for the Bears offensive line coach job too. So when you're a great team, you're going to see some of the coaches get picked apart. People want to be part of that greatness. And offensive line, wow, what a complete turnaround. Obviously, Justin Fry got hammered for his recruiting, but he's doing a great job in the portal, picking up guys and turning them into number 1 draft picks. Not number 1, first round draft picks or first day draft picks, but got a couple others in the transfer portal. Before we get to that, let's talk about who's returning. Luke Montgomery turned it on, man. Absolutely turned it on at guard. Carson Hinsman, he's going to be basically a 3-year starter at center, right? And then Austin Shereville, awesome. Tegra Shabola, awesome. You bring in Phillip Daniels. He was an Ohio guy, came in from, he was Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Transfer from Minnesota. So great body, 6'5", 315. He is a sophomore, probably going to start at right tackle.
Yeah, probably.
Obviously, there's some backups there that could come into, and that Ethan Owianwa, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but 6'6", 345 from Rice, allowed 1 sack on the year.
Yeah,
right.
It's
1 sack.
It's incredible.
And you said it earlier. It doesn't matter who you are or who you're playing against. You allow 1 sack in college football. That's a damn good stat, man. Damn good.
That's at any level, middle school, high school,
and
college, NFL. You allow 1 sack in a season. That's incredible.
And I didn't pull up their schedule. They do usually play and get the beat down against some some big teams. They usually play some schools in Texas. Rice is in Texas.
Yes, it is. They probably played Texas. They always play Texas.
It seems like they always do.
No, we got it right here. You just got to buy me.
Bring that up.
Yeah, Houston. Yeah, not the strongest schedule in the world, but
not to
I'm
be
still gonna say it's
expected.
impressive, man. I'm still gonna say it's impressive. Yeah, pretty weak schedule all in all, but it's still impressive. And you get him in here, strength and conditioning for 8-9 months, right? Get him in the right situation. Really could slot him in at left tackle.
Yep, abso-freaking-lutely. So you got that. I think that pretty much covers the offense. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, on a championship team like this, it's going to lose maybe 14, 15, 16 guys to the NFL, and you're still like, all right, we're returning a good team. It's not going to be no 8-5 team after winning a national title. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, nobody does that.
Who would? Like, you can't go from a national title to 8-5. That's terrible.
Yeah,
fire
making
your coach.
Stuff up, man. No, nobody does that.
So let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. And this is where it's absolutely mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. You lose JT. You lose, that defensive line. Everyone on the defensive line. You're losing the whole defensive line. And you're still really not that worried. Jack Sawyer, gone, man. Just the sack king in the playoffs. Those two are gone. And then Tyleik Williams, who I've been talking about for weeks, about how special he has been, how it's kind of opened up the defensive line because of how much pressure he's got. He's been able to take away the run just by blowing up the line of scrimmage. I've been talking about that ever since the Tennessee game, how well he's been playing.
Absolutely.
Just amazing. When guys like that are gone and you're really not too darn worried because you see those backups, and they've got a lot of playing time. Kenyatta Jackson, Edric Houston, K-Mac, Curry. And then you bring in Logan George from Idaho State, that transfer. I think he was all bigs guy, 6'5", 260. He's going to get in there too, man. And it seemed like a terrible, terrible take because we're like, Idaho State, who the hell is this guy? And now we're realizing we need that depth and that quality depth.
I agree, and we're going to get into that in future shows, really kind of breaking down what the transfer portal has done to college football depth, especially with some of these elite teams. But I'll say I'm a little more pessimistic than you on the DN side. I think you got some really good ones, but you're going to see that difference between the good or great defensive end and the elite defensive ends that we had here. When you need to turn it up and you need to get a pressure and you need to get a sack, up by 7 against Texas kind of thing. That's elite. That's legendary status.
Absolutely.
What you do. And not that I say that these young men can't get to that point, but they're not at that point. They're not Tuimoloau. They're not Sawyer. So you look at this and you say, okay, I feel really good about the defensive line. I think Edric Houston, in my opinion, is going to be a superstar next year. That's who I want to watch. That's who I'm looking at. Think really highly of him. This is one of the keys, I think, with that defensive coordinator is you don't just get to rush forward whenever the heck you want to, and you're going to get pressure. You're going to have to get a little creative there. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a very solid line. I don't think Ohio State fans will be expecting the line you watched the last 4 games of the season.
What I'm worried about more than anything is the depth, because they started towards the end of the year when they really needed it the most. They were able to cycle some guys in. They weren't doing it in the beginning of the year, and I think that was one of the differences between the start of the year going against Oregon and making some changes on the defense to start cycling some guys in. I don't know what they have as far as behind the line, as far as depth to cycle more guys in. I know they have Tywone Malone in there, and And there are some other pieces that are coming in as freshmen too, but you're not going to get a lot of freshmen on the defensive line playing. That just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. And you got to realize with Ken McDonald, love the guy, bigger guy, right? You're going to have to cycle a guy like that in and out quite a bit more. You look at Jason Moore or Will Smith Jr. or Mensa or somebody like that. So again,
they're at least sophomores. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think if you get a good 3-4 man rotation in there, I think you'll be all right. I'm not as concerned about the defensive tackle spot. Again, I think where it's going to come into play is, do we see these defensive ends kind of rapidly develop? And if early on, those first few games, especially the litmus test against Texas, but even the first 3 or 4 games, if we're not seeing a lot of sacks or a lot of pressure on the ball, you're really going to have to start getting creative with those blitz packages, and you're going to start putting a greater strain on the secondary.
Yeah, and you're not going to see plays like Sawyer when he's dropping back and it was just ad-libbed, man. He did it on his own and picked that ball off against Michigan.
Yeah, that's
these guys just don't have the experience to do that.
Well,
and like Rob says, the portal does open in the spring, so there's a chance that they might be getting some quality depth there.
To be fair, Rob was actually answering my question that I asked. Were you were God knows where? So thank you, Rob. I appreciate a good
I was in the locker room with Rob.
Yeah, but Rob actually answered my question. So thank you, Rob. I asked that point blank. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Rob.
All right, let's get to the linebackers. Great. Awesome news when Sonny Styles comes back. CJ Hicks is back. Arvell Reese. Man, I think the linebacker room is loaded. I mean, obviously it's going to hurt losing Cody Simon, but those guys are quality backups. Sonny Styles was the starter, and he really turned it on towards the end of the season. He got defensive MVP even in one of the bowl games. Was that the I can't remember which game that was. I think that was the Texas game.
Yeah, it was a Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Because Simon was Oregon and Sawyer was the championship. So it was the Cotton Bowl. I'm really interested to see Pettijohn, the freshman, one of the most touted linebackers from Texas. That was a huge get for Ohio State. Again, probably not going to see him a lot in the rotation, especially early on, special teams and whatnot. But I'd love to see if he starts coming on towards the end of the year, maybe getting a few more snaps on the defensive side of the ball. That's going to show you a lot from him.
And CJ Hicks is one we got to talk about too. That's a possibility where he's kind of that blend, someone that could rush after. He wanted to be on the defensive end side where he's rushing after the quarterback on third downs last year. So we'll see what happens this year. If he can get some of that, like pin your ears back and just go get the ball, go get it.
Maybe on third down packages or something like that, right?
In the Rushman package, right?
Yeah. But, you're talking somebody that's coming in around 230, 240, somewhere in that range. That's not a DN body. If he wants to play more on the DN, he's going to probably have to put on 20 more pounds probably. But that's a nice 3rd and 12 guy to rush off the edge.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Then you go to cornerback. Igbenogson comes back. All right, Mr. Hands. Hopefully he can clean that up in one more year. Jermaine Matthews had a hell of a year. When he came in, it was like we didn't miss a beat. So I think he's going to be starter at the other side. Also, we saw some great backups in Bryce West and Aaron Scott. I think Aaron Scott got hurt against
Tennessee.
I think it was Tennessee, and we didn't see much of him after that. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. And there is Devin Sanchez coming in too, so he has a shot at getting some playing time real quick because he's one of those 5 stars. And these Texas guys that come into Ohio State, they seem like they don't miss a beat. It seems like they fit right in Ohio. Their culture, I feel like, is similar to how it is in Ohio, and they understand that football means everything, right? Because that's what Texas is. And when you get to Ohio, they already know that pressure of football meaning everything because they have that at the high school level.
Yeah, you're playing in front of 60,000 people on Friday nights. So few 10, 20, 40,000 more doesn't faze them.
Yeah, he's actually a safety, isn't he?
Who?
Devin Sanchez.
No, he's a cornerback. No.
Is he a corner? All right.
Yeah, he's a corner.
Yeah, and he was the top-rated one, I believe.
He went to Oregon.
Number 1.
Ofor is number 1. But Sanchez was number 2, and that's where you were talking if you were getting the top 2 cornerbacks. Obviously, Ofor went to Oregon, but I think the future is extremely bright at cornerback. I think Aaron Scott's phenomenal. Bryce West, Glenville kid. You got to love that. And I think Sanchez, he's a 5-star for a reason. So I really see this. And I think with Igbinosun, be honest with you, get your technique right, man, because you're going to be looking over your shoulders, 3 or 4 really good players that aren't going to be afraid to step in and play. So just because you're a senior doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything.
That's true. It's Ohio State. It's big boy ball.
Yep.
And safety, man. Can't say any more about Caleb Downs. Just the best defensive player coming back on that side of the ball. We got him. Malik Hartford. So, safety may be a little bit of a weaker spot, just finding someone that fills in for Ransom, because, man, he came on at the end of the year.
I mean, he was just a veteran presence, and you're not going to replicate that. You're not going to get anything in there, but talent can cover up a lot of that too. So, and I think Caleb, he just cleans up messes. That's the beauty of Caleb Downs, and I think he's going to really want to put on a hell of a show. I love kids that are trying to vie for that top 5, top 10 pick in the draft, right? They're going to want to put as much film on as possible. So I think we're going to see a hell of a year out of Caleb.
Well, I apologize to you all. That's all we got for the roster, the depth chart for next year, 2025. But we got to get some more Danos because we owe it to them. Didn't play it last time. Got to play it this time. Here we go. Spice it up.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa.
Joe,
Hey.
we all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What's that?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
All right. Now we got Mike Germanese joining us, the writer for now Mike Farrell Sports. So tell us a little bit about that transition. Are you still going to write for the Dogs maybe, too?
Yeah, I'm still going to do both as of right now. So it's been a nice experience. Mike's been great. The whole staff's been outstanding. So it's been a nice transition over.
Nice little transition, huh? There we go. Hey, we got to get your perspective from the Michigan fan base. There's 137 pages of 6 level 1 violations. Is Michigan they're just fighting this? They're saying, no, you got nothing on me. We're going to take this as far as we can, as many obstacles as we can. We're going to just keep fighting it tooth and nail.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon, which is too bad. I was kind of hoping that by this time they'd have a deal. A lot of the fan base thought it was already done. I got phone calls with this is still going on. It's already been what?
Yeah.
You're going on 16 months, something like that, and we're probably still another year and a half away, maybe 2 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at least. I mean, the NCAA is famous for this. We'll take as long as we can. And I think from Michigan's perspective, it's actually kind of smart, like kick the can down the road a little bit, and maybe the NCAA keeps losing a little bit more ability to
it's almost
hand
like
out any type of sanctions.
The NCAA is almost becoming Michigan's new rival. Between the 340 people suing the NCAA, the Big Ten, and the Big Ten Network for Michigan, then you got this going on. It's like a two-way battle with the NCAA right now in the University of Michigan. So it's going to go on for a while. It's going to be at least.
So
I think
what's the
another year and a
vibe
half
for Michigan fans? You have some that are a little worried about this, and some
I
that
think
think it's just going to go away.
You got the ones who think it's no big deal. They didn't do anything. You got the ones who are worried. I'm not going to use the word scared, but very worried. When you see 6 level 1 violations, you have to be right. And then you got the ones like me, who you're at the point where just get it done. I don't care what happens. If they're going to take away things, take away things. The way I look at it is the damage is already done. Anything they take away, most people already devalue anyways. So really, what are they taking? This whole thing's played out in real time, right? I've never seen an NCAA investigation with this many leaks. Usually it comes to the end, and it's, this is what happened at that school. This one, it's every single thing that comes out is leaked.
Yeah, who's leaking it?
I don't know who's leaking it, but I have an idea, but I got to talk to somebody on Saturday, and I'll let you know.
All right.
Because I have
I
have a theory, but there's somebody I have meeting with on Saturday who will let me know if the theory's right. So if it's right, I'll send you the article, and you can send it to Buckeye Nation.
There you go. Well, it's not Ryan Day's family, right? Someone from the inside is leaking it. I can't believe that people fell for that.
That might be it coming from the inside. Might be a good thing.
Yeah, it's smart. I actually think it should. If I was a Michigan person, I'd be leaking this because you want it all aired out. That it's ludicrous. It's audacious. We're gonna fight this tooth and nail. I actually wouldn't have a problem if Michigan's leaking it internally. I think it's smart PR.
Well, we're not even that. The whole story initially, it was.
I think no. That's what I was like.
Ryan Day's brother being a PI investigator.
No,
that's not where it came from. That was actually made up by Menace to Sports on their show. They even said that they were doing it, and Michigan fans just took it, and Michigan writers even took it and just rolled with it. I don't know how you let a rumor, if you're a journalist, develop like that when there's clearly out there in the air that, hey, I'm making this up. So I just want to see if it takes off. And that's exactly what happened.
Michigan's requested pre-hearing to find out about the leak.
Yep.
If the NCAA is not saying who it is, then there's something there why. And I also think that the document that was leaked, the latest one, it only said that it was partial. What I want to see is what's in that other partial of it. Why was there only so many pages leaked and not the whole thing?
Only time will tell, man. Only time will
tell.
The
problem is me, you, and Seattle Matt might be retired and hanging out in Boca Raton by the time this ends.
Dude, we're just kicking the can down the road. Just kicking it down the road. But guess what? At the end of the day, it's still a can. We're going to have to face the facts eventually and see what happens. And the NCAA ain't going nowhere. When you try to fight them that hard, they just get more and more angry. Like, you're calling me a liar, I'm going to come back with some more. You're calling me a liar, I'm going to come back with some more. We saw it before. We saw it with Harbaugh's initial 3-game suspension for Burgergate. Everyone's like, oh, that shouldn't be the big deal. It was a little bit deeper than that because he was recruiting during the COVID dead cycle. So he got the 3-game suspension, fought that. Then you saw it again at Penn State when he got suspended for the other 3 games. Everyone thought, oh, we're going to hire this lawyer. We're going to do everything from within. He's not going to get suspended. Well, guess who wins? The NCAA. That information was turned over to the Big Ten. The Big Ten decided to level that suspension. I don't think the NCAA is going anywhere, man. I think this is a big deal.
Oh, 100%. They're not going nowhere. The problem is that it's going to be how long is Michigan and the NCAA going to let this thing go? Because you got to remember,
and that could be forever. I have no faith in that ending anytime soon.
Once this gets to the courts, you're going to see delays, pre-hearings, another delay, another delay. Like we could be talking
a request for an extension.
Yeah, we could be talking about this for 3, 4, 5 years. And what's crazy is, considering it played out in real time, you would have thought that this would have been handled in real time. Not by the time this ends, every single player, coach involved will probably be caught by the time this ends, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's not going to be anytime soon. It will be interesting to see what happens to Sharon Moore. Like the impact that it has on him and his career could be substantial. You know, if you have 6th level one and a repeat offender, both the school and him, that's not a good look.
It depends though. If Sharon goes out and puts together the next 2 years really good years, you've seen what he can do as an offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Even if something happens and Michigan gets rid of him, he's going to end up somewhere. He's going to end up somewhere in the NFL. He's going to end up somewhere probably in college. So really, the only people this really affects is the actual University of Michigan. Even if they fire him for it, he's still going to end up coaching somewhere. Harbaugh doesn't care. Any penalties they give him, that's like firing somebody who quit 6 months ago.
Yeah. I felt bad for Bryce Underwood. He should have stayed at LSU.
Well, with the transfer portal, it's never too late. But he might be gone.
You can always go back.
Let's be honest. He might be gone by the time this ends.
It's true. It might not matter.
And that's why I think it's you who said it before. We need a commissioner. Stuff like this can't happen where it goes this long. College football is too big. There's too much money involved. These schools have too much money where they can prolong this as long as they want. You can't have something happen in 2023 and it possibly be 2026, 27, 28 when we finally find out that, oh, this is your penalty.
You know, one thing I know, the NCAA does not give a shit. They do not care whatsoever. It will probably go on until 2026.
Unless
boys,
the NCAA is gone.
Is there anything else?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I think you have to look back to the second 3-game suspension for Harbaugh. You can equate that to a lot of Big Ten teams putting the pressure on taking action. They said this is ridiculous. They probably didn't have evidence or all the facts or anything like it. But that was the commissioner doing something that says, listen, I addressed this at the conference level. So there was a lot of heat and a lot of pressure from everybody to make sure that happened. I look at a situation like this and I say, okay, NCAA, if you have evidence that this happened, if you have a smoking gun, why is that not out there right now? Get that out there right now, get it in the public, and then the public pressure force a decision to be made. When I see this drag on for years and years and years, I hate to admit it, it sounds like Michigan has a strong case because if there's a smoking gun, get it out there.
I think you hit something.
I don't think the NCAA needs a smoking gun.
Yes, they do. You cannot level sanctions on speculation.
I think Seattle hit something on there, and I think
it's a lack of institutional control. And coaches don't have to know.
No, but
you're in charge of the program no matter what. If something's going on below you, just like a CEO, if someone gets in trouble below you, it's still your fault.
There's something to why this was leaked, unlike any other case, and why you haven't heard who the
because that's the least amount of damning evidence they have.
No,
there's more than that.
Or did you already inflict the damage because you know when you get to trial, it's not going to go that far.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, if Michigan gets fined leaking it, that's a level 1 violation. Michigan can't even investigate it until the NCAA sends you your notice of allegation. You can't talk about it. You can't leak it. Coaches aren't allowed to talk about it. You can't even investigate it at the school until you get the notice of allegation. Once they come in and they start their process, you have to wait for them to finish it so you can start. So everything they were finding, it's not like Michigan can come back and dispute it at the time. You just have to sit there quiet.
Or delete 50 text messages.
Yes, or delete 50 text messages. I would want to go to a new phone at least. If you're going to do it,
dude,
do it right.
Mike, put your pen down, dude.
Honestly, the NCAA should put level 1 violations if you delete text messages, right? I mean, that is just, to me, that screams guilty.
Me personally,
yeah.
Like, it's at the point where I just want this done. I don't care if you want to take stuff. I don't care about postseason bans. I don't care about losing games, taking game. I don't care just get it done, over with.
I want to talk about this in the offseason for the next 10 years. This is awesome.
If we got to talk about this in the next 10 years, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to get a job as getting you guys coffee on the Buckeye backers.
No, I'm quitting the show, Mike. You're co-host, and we're talking about this for 10 years. I have no interest in talking about it.
I can't deal with this no more. It's too long.
See,
it is.
I think everyone's getting sick of it, and they want it to just come to a conclusion, but that's not happening. Let's just be honest.
Either you're guilty or you're not.
Longer.
I mean, I think that's what we all want is resolution. I don't know if they're guilty. I don't know if they're not guilty. I have no idea. If you have the evidence, bring it to the public and say, here's your violations. We have all this evidence. Or if you don't have the evidence, make it go away. It's just ridiculous, this cat and mouse game.
If this taught us anything, it's that the NCAA is so archaic in their bylaws that at some point you have to rewrite them so this stuff doesn't happen. Like all these schools, there has to be some kind of agreement that this can't keep going like this, where it's going to be investigation, violation.
Hey, you know what?
Court, judge decides.
We said all this during the trinket sale for Ohio State with Jim Tressel. Everything's archaic. Things have changed since then. And you know what? You guys did the cheating. Got to pay the price.
Now, the only way they're not.
I mean, it's obvious it did happen. You've pretty much admitted it.
Yeah, the only way.
Was he in the room when it happened? I mean, don't put him on trial.
No, I mean the team admitted it.
The only way it's not going to happen is if Michigan outlasts
their excuse. Michigan's excuse is it didn't matter that much. We did it, but it didn't matter.
Listen, this is what I say. The University of Michigan has a lot of money. Whatever law firm is looking into the bylaws, and that's why I tell people, just let it play out. This is not a lawyer. This is probably a floor or two of lawyers who are going through this.
You have law students who you're probably not paying who can do a lot of ancillary research for you too. That saves a lot of billable hours. So they have a lot of hands on deck with that. But I think I go back to a comment, Mike, you said about having a commissioner in sports. We've all heard Nick Saban, right, being a commissioner of the NCAA. Again, a commissioner cannot rule or make a ruling like this without concrete evidence. You know,
but I think
Nick Saban was the commissioner. He's like, 6 violations, so it'll be written, so it'll be told. Everyone's going to be like, why did you make that ruling? What's your evidence?
But I think you can fast track it. If you had a commissioner, and you have to almost make it like the NFL, right? Where everybody agrees that you can't.
That's a slippery slope.
You can't slam the door on them, right? When they want to come in, they come in. If they want to take the evidence, they take the evidence. They go through it. Here, this is what it is. You have the hearing done.
I mean, but Roger Goodell has gotten slammed over the years for his treatment of these because he's judge, jury, and executioner. So I think a commissioner in the NCAA, you would get a similar wrath.
Yeah, but I'd rather have that than this.
Or a board. I mean, it could be a board. It could be an executive board of 3, 4, 5 people.
Yeah, you could have the commissioner and a board, but as long as it goes fast, like.
And but that's why you have to ask the question: what is delaying this process? Why is it glacially slow? And if the NCAA has this evidence right now, why can't you come out and just say, we have this evidence, it's foolproof, here's why we're doing this?
Because
why is
I think the NCAA likes to pressure people into making their own penalties.
No, I think they're just slow. I think they just, this is the way they've always done it. Everything's slow. And I think they know what the result's going to be at the end. They're going to end up in court, and then it's going to play out even longer. Like, I think they realize Ross Dellinger piece pretty much said it. This fight's going to go on for a long time, right? I think he started the actual article with it. I think the NCAA realizes it doesn't matter what they find or what they do, because the minute that ruling comes out, it's going right to the courts.
But that's where I go back to the Big Ten argument. What forced the commissioner's hand in such a swift resolution was the pressure from the other 17 schools. And if I'm the NCAA and I want to expedite this process, I'm leaking this evidence. I am getting it out in the public because I want Alabama fans pissed off. You know, I want Washington fans pissed off. I want Ohio State fans pissed off. I want the national hatred coming in on a singular university.
Well, you're not going to have a problem getting Ohio State fans pissed off.
No, but it's all false bravado at this point. I haven't seen a lick of evidence. I don't know.
You want everyone on your side. Yeah.
Get the nation to rally around it like we did in the Big Ten, which I thought that was a little short-sighted personally, but
I think most of the fan bases outside of the Big Ten at this point, they don't even care.
I think Alabama and Washington will care.
Outside of the Big Ten.
Yeah. But Alabama and Washington were, not at that time. I think they would care.
Like, I talked to a couple of people I know who are Alabama fans of Georgia, and they were of the mindset this was already done. They're like, are you guys really still going through this? Like, you guys didn't come up with a conclusion?
Yeah, it doesn't
Like
make
if they could have did what you said last offseason, I think you could have had that. At this point, it's been so long, most people forgot it even happened.
I've forgotten about it too.
Like when this came out, Steve was on some of the shows. All I was told was that this was going to happen fast. Michigan's going to get banned for life in the next 2 weeks. Michigan's going to get banned for life in the next 2 weeks. Michigan stole 77.
I thought it was going to come quick.
And I remember, and
I really
Steve
did.
probably doesn't remember. Yeah. I remember being on these shows where people kept yelling at me when I was like, "No, this is going to take at least a year, maybe 2." And I 2 weeks, it's coming. I have sources. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And here we are, 16 months in, and still nothing, with probably another 16 to 24 months to go.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm with you. It's not coming anytime soon.
Nothing happens fast.
No.
Nope. Not in the NCAA's world. Well, guys, I think we got to wait till next Thursday. Every Thursday night, 10 o'clock, Buckeye backers are on. And we'll have Mike Germany sometimes, but we'll always have Seattle Matt. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. God bless. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll bring you some more. All right? We got videos. We got everything. Make some comments in the locker room. We'll be sure to get to them. We had a couple of new guys on here today, or ones that came back. Dave Girding has been on here before. It was nice to see him back. Know him personally. And Rob's been in. I think Rob Schaller's been in before, but this may have been his first day. I feel like I saw that name once or twice before. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless. Peace.